You see, here's what's stuck in your vibrational craw. In fact, you said as much to us, so we're going to reflect it back to you. You said, it's easier for me to have pure thoughts when it's just me, but when somebody else is involved, they do dumb stuff. And since I have no ability to focus around it, I just look at it and feel bad, and then I need them to be different. We're giving it to you because we're giving it to everyone. You heard us earlier say we choose those that are representative of a lot. You're representative of a lot.
Yeah.
So we're not asking for any effort, and so we want this to just be really easy. But what is a factor of a relationship that just feels sweet to you when you think about it? Does anything stand out? For Esther, it's ease and flow. It's the comfort factor. It's the just nice to be together.
Yeah, feeling like home, like it's just easy, you can feel comfortable.
All right. Now that at home feeling really is that alignment with your inner beings, that easy feeling. So just go there. Since you can have it any way you want it, just leave every relationship you've ever lived out of the equation and just imagine that, just for the deliciousness of it. So what'd you say it's like? It's like, what's it like? What's that like?
Feeling like home and easy.
It's easy.
It's comfortable.
Feels good. I feel comfortable. I feel free. I can sort of do what I want. The other can too.
You feel secure. Like you feel like, you go home and you're comfortable and it's easy and fun.
All right, now, as you were doing that, were you compensating for something you don't have, or were those just easy to think thoughts?
Kind of in the middle.
Yeah, a little bit of both. Have you ever felt that way? Do you ever remember feeling that way?
Not really. Like maybe a little bit.
What about when you get in your car and nobody knows where you are and nobody's expecting you anywhere and you can go wherever you want right now? You ever feel that?
Yeah.
Ooh, don't you like that? Don't you like that? What about driving down a street and there's a little lake and there's a mother duck and some little baby ducks and there's no place you need to be, so you just pull over and watch them for a little while?
Mm-hmm.
Is that any of that feeling? By those two really, by some standards, lame examples, you leveraged more power than all the thoughts you've ever had about a relationship. That's how powerful that non-resisted thought is. Non-resisted thought. See, you don't know that because you don't offer much non-resisted thought. You don't dream on purpose. For Esther, when we started talking about it, it wasn't practical enough for her. She needs a list that she can check off. It wasn't practical or productive because she's got fish to fry and people to serve and airplanes to catch and recordings to edit and album covers to design and hotels to decide on. In other words, she's got a long list of things to do and she wants to do them. And we want her not to do them. Not to only do them. We want her to do whatever she needs to do to keep things going the way she likes things to go. We want her to daydream a little bit, and we want her in time to notice the difference between the daydream and the effort. If you want to be more practical than to just sit and watch the ducks for a little while or play hooky from whatever, if you want to be more productive, then just feel the productivity of the daydream and play with it long enough that it can show its return on investment back to you. And it won't be very long before other people in your life will be thinking you're lazy and massively lucky. And you'll know you found true productivity through non-resisted thought. Do you know that every empire, every invention, every great big pile of money, investment money, every magnificent sculpture or monument or structure, everything like that was 99.9999999 created in the thought form before the first board was dragged up and the first nail was put in it, before the first employee was hired. In other words, your creations are in your vortex and you've been putting them there. And then humans want to turn to action to make things happen when most of it's already done. And then when you get into your action, because action is not as productive, it's like picking up the steel beam on your own. It defeats your body. It makes you tired. It isn't as effective. You get burned out. You feel unblessed. You feel unloved. You just got to try this. You just got to allow yourself to feel the productivity of the power of the energy that creates worlds, that is handed to you all day, every day. It's being revealed to you all day, every day. You've just got to realize it. But in order to realize it, you got to chill. You got to be nicer to you. You got to do more things that feel good to you. You got to catch a piece of a dream, and you got to let yourself dream it a little bit. You've got to be less practical. You got to offer less effort. You got to try to fix less stuff. You got to be less conditional. And if you are conditional, let it be because you're looking for things to praise, not because you're looking for things to fix. And what you're going to begin to discover is your true power. Things are going to be different for every one of you just as a result of this conversation that we've had here today. And we know sometimes this doesn't feel like very practical information, but it is the most powerful practical information that you're ever going to hear. But you've got to do more than hear it. You've got to apply it, which means you've got to chill. You've got to find some way of lowering your resistance and allowing your resistance freeness, you see. So that means a new relationship's always easier. And why is that? Because your expectation is cleaner until that person does something that reminds you of the last person, and then then off you go again, you see.
So it doesn't really matter who the person is that I'm in a relationship with, is what I'm realizing. Because it's
it does matter.
It matters in that way,
because you've put specific things in your vortex. You put things into your vortex. You have preferences, and they do matter. You should get everything that you want.
But until I sort out what's going on with me and figure out how to, be in my vortex or be on my own.
That's effort.
So, okay.
That's effort. Go watch ducks.
Okay. Okay.
Because the effort isn't getting it.
Yeah.
Aren't you tired?
Yeah, I'm tired.
Aren't you weary? Don't you want a good one to show up for a change? You need to do something different. It requires understanding a few things. Do you accept that you are an extension of source energy?
Yes.
And do you accept that you've created a vibrational reality that is in the gestation process, but is ready to be born into your experience? Do you accept that, or some degree of that? And do you understand vibrations? Do you know that you can't set your radio dial on 101 AM and hear what's being broadcast on 98.7 FM? Does that make sense to you? The frequencies of the transmitter and the receiver have to match up. So your vortex is broadcasting on this pure positive channel, and if you're all mucked up in your receiving, then you're not getting it. And then when you don't get it, you think, oh, well, I better do something about this. And then you say things that aren't true, like, well, stuff doesn't just fall in my lap. I got to make this happen. And we say, you already made it happen through the life you lived and the vortex you built. You've made it happen. Step one, it's done, it's done, it's done. You've done that. Now it's not the time to keep making it happen, although you're always adding to your vortex, but it's done. Now your work is to let it in. It wants in. It's right up against your door all the time. It's being broadcast to you all the time, but you've got your tuner tuned somewhere else, unless you're watching the ducks, unless you're daydreaming, unless you've meditated and stopped thought. If you've quieted your mind, now your vibration is being allowed by you to rise. And when it locks on, impulse comes. An impulse that feels good, not a test of the universe, not now let's see what she'll do with this. It's nothing like this. Once you lock on, once you get into the receiving mode, the impulse that comes is a nice ride. It's a really, really, really nice ride. Nothing Esther likes more than to get on the open road in some machine. The open road, because you just don't know what's out there for sure. It's just so much potential of so much good stuff. And in her little Jeep, that Jeep's four-wheel drive. She can take it places that she could not take the monster bus. She can take it on back roads and down to riverbeds, and she can get off in the dirt with it. In other words, it'll go places that no other vehicle that she's ever had would go. A whole new world to enjoy, a whole new bunch of ducks to discover, you see. we don't want you to go buy a Jeep, and we don't want you to go off-road. That's not our message. We want you to feel the opportunities that are out there that you haven't even considered before, you see. We want you to let the world surprise and delight you in the way you want it to, but in the way you haven't practiced allowing, you see. So, you feel a little less practical now in terms of doing, and a little more practical in terms of letting the leverage of the universe assist you?
Yeah, I do want to let go, but I find that it's just harder when I'm, like, I have to believe it, and I have to, like, believe that my vortex, I can stop putting stuff in my vortex.
Listen to your words. Listen to your words. With these words, you are doing the opposite of everything that we've just been talking about. You're facing reality. You went right back to, yeah, but this is where I am, and I'd like to do what you're suggesting, Abraham, but here is where I am. And we say, but here is not where you need to be. You could daydream. You could have as easily said to us, yeah, I'm going to dream a little more. I'm going to give myself a little more freedom to dream. I'm going to get out there ahead of it. I'm going to segment intend more. You could focus yourself there, but you didn't. And the reason you didn't is because it's not a habit yet. But it can be a habit, you see. Because if you keep doing it the way you're doing it, it'll never open up for you. It'll always be hard. It'll just be another face in another place, but everything will just keep being the same. You've got to do something different with your vibration. The reason that you are the perfect demonstration here, you're like so many people in this room and around the world. You're like Esther some of the time too. We really, really want you to hear this. You're trying to make it happen through behavior, through words, and we want you to let it happen. We want you to right now feel the difference between effort and ease. Feel the difference between making something happen and letting something happen. Can you feel the difference? Between thinking a thought and receiving a thought. So, do you accept that your inner being's thinking?
Yeah, my inner being is thinking, yeah.
And do you accept that your inner being is thinking about the things that are important to you?
Yes.
So do you accept that your inner being is thinking about what you want relative to a relationship, and knows what you want, and knows the path of least resistance to get you right to it?
Yeah.
And so, do you want to be the one who does the thinking, or do you want your inner being to be the one who does the thinking? Because your thoughts aren't working out so good. We're just asking, do you want to think this through and make it happen and make a determination and go get it done and say the words and make the reservation and bang it into place and offer the effort and analyze when it doesn't? Or do you want to chill? Do you want to dream a little? Do you want to just imagine? Do you want to segment intend? Who do you want to do the thinking for a while?
Inner being.
Does that bother you? Your inner being's on your side. It's not like you're turning it over to the other Republican Party or Democrat Party. Your inner being is on your side. Your inner being is on your side. Your inner being knows everything that you put there and knows exactly all the things that you like. Every time you went, your inner being knows it. Every time you said, yes, your inner being knows it. Your inner being knows you so well and knows exactly what will delight you. And your inner being is thinking, you acknowledge, is thinking about you and where you are right now. So who do you want to do the thinking? My inner being, which means what am I doing? I'm doing the receiving. Well, how do I do the receiving? By not thinking. Now, if you thought exactly compatible thoughts with your inner being, and soon you'll be doing that, and often you are doing it, those are those thoughts of empowerment and euphoria. Those are those thoughts where goosebumps bumble up all over you. We're not asking you to stop thinking. We're just asking you in some situations to let the superior thinker think. It's sort of like you can drive and the person with you can't, so who do you put behind the wheel? Have you ever driven before? No. Get in there. You kind of want to drive because you think your odds are better. Well, we think your odds are way better of letting your inner being drive, of letting your inner being think the thoughts. We think for just a little while you might want to practice the art of allowing and get into the receiving mode. Yes? We really like your questions, and we really like your willingness to be exactly as your being so that we can show you how that's not getting it for you. It's getting it to a certain extent. You got a great life. It's getting it to a certain extent. In other words, there are a lot of people who look at you or who would look around your life and who would say, good job. And we would say that too. But you're asking for something more. You need to bring in the big guns. You need to bring in the big cranes. You want a spectacular life, and you're not going to get it by poking around and weighing the pros and the cons and the pluses and the minuses, and by telling us how it's been. I want it to be different, Abraham, but it's been like this. Well, it's not going to be different if you keep pointing out how it's been being. It will continue to be as you continue to focus upon it being, you see.